Recording. First of all, welcome to everyone. I would like to explain a little bit about our organization, Mükad, and then I will also present Ayat. Mükad is Association of Women Engineers and Architects, is a non-profit NGO whose members are women engineers and architects. It was established in 2018. Mükad works to ensure that women engineers and architects have equal opportunities in professional life. Members are engineers and architects from different disciplines. Main aims are to contribute to increase in the number of women engineers and architects in engineering disciplines, where we are few in number, work for securing women in the same workplace with men, to be given equal pay for equal work, to increase number of women representation in top managements to enterprises, to support female engineering and architecture students by scholarships, to support economically disadvantaged professional women in these specialties with scholarships and fellowships. The association mentors our scholarship fellowship holders with volunteer members. And I would like to also welcome you, and I will, she is the master trainer and principal course leader in Asia for the back of the napkin, solving problems and selling ideas with pictures for digital roam includer. A former senior banker, Ayat, regularly conducts visual thinking and business skills programs for executives to prepare themselves to stay relevant in today's challenging operating environment. Some of the related programs she has conducted are the Entrepreneurial Manager, Thriving on Challenges and Creativity and Innovation. The rules have changed. Her clients include multinational companies, government agencies, as well as educational and financial institutions in Singapore, Malaysia, Australia, Bangladesh, Brunei, Cambodia, China, Hong Kong, India, Indonesia, Macau, Sri Lanka, and Thailand. And I should add Turkey also.
Yes.
Yeah. Ayat currently teaches innovation management for the RMIT University degree program at SIM Global Education and Creative Problem Solving at Beijing Normal University. She taught entrepreneurship and strategic finance issues for an Australian MBA program. And on behalf of Mükad, I would like to thank you to attend our to give us this lecture at this late hour in Singapore. We are recording the webinar, so if anyone does not want to attend, so they can close their video chat screens. So, hi again.
Pardon? It's my turn, is
Yes.
it?
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry, I didn't hear. Okay, thank you so much. And of you, good evening, ladies, and I see a couple of gentlemen here. Welcome to the session that I'm going to do is the power of visual thinking. And just a little bit to talk a little bit about the subject matter is something that I'm extremely passionate about, and I've been involved in it for almost a decade. So great to be here with all of you. And of course, to all the ladies from, you call it Mükad, is it? Is that how you pronounce? Yeah, Mükad, okay. Engineers and architects, I salute to all of you here. So thank you for having me. Yeah? Now, just a quick thing about why I will do this for all of you today at these wee hours of the morning. Sometimes I'm thinking it's crazy. It's 1 a.m. in Singapore. And the reason is because, number one, is because I love Turkey. And this is the reason why I do that. And I actually was in Istanbul. I went to Izmir. I went to Cappadocia in May 2019. And I just love the people, the culture, and your food. I just love it. Yeah? So I'm so happy to be back, except that I wish I was there and not on a webinar like this. Yeah. And the other reason why I agreed to do this is because of Elching. I was actually speaking at the MMO when I was in Istanbul. When I travel to any country, I will offer to give a talk. So I'll connect with some of the associations, and happened that I had a connection that actually I started talking at Izmir, and then I went to Istanbul and I gave 3 talks when I was in Turkey. And it was and at the end of the session, Elching approached me and he says, if you need anything, I give you my contact number. I could take you around Istanbul, but I actually didn't take up her offer because I was actually, my schedule was very tight at that point of time. Her kind gesture touched my heart and my soul. And because of that, I have to say yes to this talk at 1 a.m. in the morning. So that's why I'm here today. Yeah. Now, let me take you through a little bit about what I'm going to cover today. I'm sure it is part of your publicity. So I only have an hour, but of course, if you want to have questions and all that, I'll be happy to answer and help in any way. Yeah? So I contain my session basically on, first thing, why pictures? We will look at that first, and then I'm going to get everybody to draw a little. But I'm, of course, a lot of people tell me they can't draw, but I am so confident today because I have architects and I have engineers who is so comfortable taking a pen to draw concepts and ideas. And in today's innovation space, where things are a little bit more complex, having to explain a complex topic to someone else sometimes is hard for people to understand. So we draw a picture, and the whole focus of the conversation will be, what is this box about? What is this you're trying to tell me? Why is this arrow here? You know, so the whole conversation will be based on the picture. So we're going to draw a little bit of that. Then I'm going to share a little bit about a tool. Today I'm going to do a little bit extra because this morning I was just thinking about it. I'm going to show you the entire visual thinking Swiss Army knife. The whole concept of actually looking at it is actually looking at how we can draw and why the concept of visuals become important. Then after that, because time is so short, I will only focus on this framework, which we call it the 6x6 framework. 6 ways the eye sees, 6 pictures we draw. And I will articulate that again. And then I will share my story of how I navigate through COVID, which is such a bad thing for all of us. But I'm going to share with you of how I use this picture, and I probably drew it so many times that it helped me navigate through it. I will try as much as possible to also try to link to some of the things that you will that will actually apply to your own workspace as well. Okay, now, so my work is actually fundamentally based on the book, The Back of the Napkin. As you all know, every time when you go to a cafe and sometimes you got this crazy idea and then you don't have a paper, then you ask the cafes, can I have a paper? And then you start drawing an idea. From now onwards, if you ever do that, do not throw the paper away, because that is probably the next innovation, the next complex problem solving that you have come up with. Okay, so this in the context of this. So I actually was an ex-banker, and one of my things that I normally do, this is my homepage. I always have Business Week as my homepage. And of course, now it's no longer existing. Now it's called Bloomberg.com. But I like it is because they actually gives you PowerPoint slides. And in all the PowerPoint slides talk about the most innovative companies in the world, or they talk about the new designs of the world. And I'm fascinated by it. So I don't know why I do it, but I do it very like a regimen. And I would take it, and every weekend I would download all the PowerPoint slides, all the slideshows that is from Business Week. And this was one of them. They featured the best innovation design book 2002, and there were 10 books that they recommended. This was the first book. I have never done such a thing before, and sometimes I think it's about God connection to me. Is this from this higher hand of power that actually made me do it? I went to the bookstore and I bought all the 10 books that's recommended in this particular slideshow. And I actually found some of them very hard to read, but happened that this was probably the most easiest book to read because it was pictorial. A lot of pictures were drawn and a lot of concepts were shared, and I was really fascinated by it. So I then wrote to the author, and I said, Dan, I want to represent you in this part of the world. And then I flew to San Francisco, attended the workshop, and then I signed a contract and I came back. And this is how I started. So I've been with Dan Room for the last decade. So currently, these are the books that he has written. The latest book is actually this pop-up pitch, which is actually talking about pitching for ideas, pitching for with regard to funding and all that. Okay, but it's very, very interesting. So if you have time, my recommendation is you can take one of these books and start reading it. Now, before we move on, I would like all of you to do a quick test. Okay, now I want to see in the context of with regard to your visual. It's a test about your visual memory. Okay, let's take a look at it. So I'm going to do this now. Oh no, this is not a good view. Okay, just give me a minute. Slideshow from current. Okay, so everybody please pay attention because I want you to see how many pictures you remember. And every picture is going to be half seconds. Okay, so we're going to start now. Okay, how many pictures do you think you can remember? Just type on the chat. Can you remember all the pictures? Yes or no? Just type on the chat. No, okay. 10 maybe. Okay, great. 5. Awesome. All these are 8. This is a lucky number for Chinese. Okay. 15. Irima, can't remember all. Okay, great. So now that you are being very, nearly all cannot remember or remember. No, okay, great. So since we can't get everybody to confirm that they all they can remember all the pictures, so now let's forget it, okay? So I'm going to stop here now. Now I'm going to go back, and because it's easier for me to draw this way, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk about why pictures. So everybody please take your pen and follow me. I want you to draw a circle. This circle represents 100% of all the neurons in our brain. Now, I want you to put a dot right at the center. And I want you to draw a line from the dot to the circumference on the top. Then I want you to draw incline it to the left, and then another one to the right. So like a peace sign, like a Mercedes-Benz logo, okay? So imagine now this is 100%. From the neural perspective, 1/3 of our brain is focused on vision. Another 1/3 of our brain is focused on processing our sensory capabilities. And as all we know, we have eyes, our sight, smell, taste, touch, and our hearing. So we have all these 5 senses, which is actually what the brain does, 1/3 of it. Now, of which this is still the biggest portion that is actually used in our brain to process, okay? Then the other 1/3 that we have here is actually to process others. So as a fact now, 60% of our entire brain is focused on vision. And vision is the number one thing we do very well. Okay, now, so let me just ask a question now. If I say the word bicycle, tell me what pops out in your head. Type it down. Now, some of you can turn on your audio and shout if you want. What pops out in your head? If I say the word bicycle, what pops out in our head? Very good. 2 wheels, right? A vehicle with 2 wheels. That's correct. Great. If you were to come back and tell me, Ayah, it is bicycle. I think we're going to end the class today. So every time when you think about it, all our conversation is really now very interesting. Okay, so whatever we are looking at or talking, when people say some words, a visual image will pop up. When we discuss about a description of a house, you will have the first image of your own home. So it's very fascinating with regard to that. Huh? Now, so why pictures? Because we innately do it very, very well. Okay, now, so what is then visual thinking? A couple of things very important here. Number one, we are looking at your innate ability. Now, you will notice that 2 things happen. Our ability to see. So vision is very important. Our ability to see. And we see in 2 ways. Number one, with our eyes. We look at it. And then our brain, which is my mind's eye, which is my brain, will actually see an image of the input from my eyes. And so that image, if I were to look at that image, I could now generate other ideas that could then help me very quickly come up with ideas and share with people. And this is how we look at visual thinking. Now, this is a lot of words, right? So I'm going to show you a visual, okay? Now, this is what it is all about. Now, I'm going to walk you through the visual. You are going to draw it with me because that's the only way we can best remember it. And I'm not going to cover everything today, but I'm going to cover only one part of it. Okay, now let's take a look at what it is. Okay, now this image that we have, and I'm very sure that all of you can actually draw it quite comfortably. The only issue is, do you remember all the words that come with it? Okay, now, so now everybody take a piece of paper now. Put it on landscape mode. Take your pen and we're going to draw it together. Okay, now, first thing first, conceptually in visuals, this is very important. I want you to draw on your left-hand corner of your paper a very small circle like this to represent you. So I want you to draw you. So everybody draw yourself now, please. I want you to write your name. In visuals, this is important, whether you do it with your children or you do it with your colleagues. This is something very fascinating. The moment you put ownership to the piece of paper of a challenge that you have, you now own it. There's no more excuse to say, it's not my problem anymore. Okay, now, the second picture I want you to draw is a bubble. Now, don't draw first. I'm going to show it to you conceptually. When you talk about visuals, the concept of size is very important. So just don't draw yet. Just pay attention to this. Now, if I do this, if I draw this bubble to represent my problem or my challenge. Now, if it's very small and smaller than me, I don't need a tool. So when you draw your challenge, it must be bigger than you. Okay, so everybody now draw a much bigger bubble that must be bigger than you, so that therefore you want a tool to be able to help you. So I want you to now write down, this is my challenge. Okay, now I would like you now to draw the body of the Swiss Army knife. So everybody draw with me the body of the Swiss Army knife. Conceptually, the logo is this. I would like you now to draw 3 blades with me. So everybody follow me and draw the first 3 blades. The first 3 blades is actually called the built-in tools. Which means to say what we described it just now is your innate ability. And what do we have as innate? Our eyes, our mind's eye, which is actually our brain. So when you draw your brain, you must have your eyes closed. Imagination has to be from inside, like, so you don't scan any more data, okay? So you let your imagination run wild, and then the last one is actually your hands and your eyes. So this is what we all have right now. So what does our eyes do? Our eyes scans patterns all the time. So every day when you go to work and then you suddenly see something, hey, today's pattern looks different, or in economic change, or some technological changes, or some announcement that's been made, something has changed. So your brain will take this information, with your eyes closed, it will tear the information apart, you turn it upside down, and then you say, I have an idea. So that's where the first concept comes out. And the moment you have the idea, you will now use your innate ability, which is your hands. Your eyes look at what your brain tells you, draw the picture, and share it with someone else. This is what we all have, our innate ability. That's why we call it the built-in tools. Okay. Now, the next set of blades is a set of 4 blades. So everybody draw 1, 2, 3, 4. This is called the visual thinking process. Now, process, as we all know, is step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. This is process, right? So for process, let's write down, we need to do this. We need to first look. Then we need to see. That's still your eyes in action. Then we imagine. Then we show. Now, for look, what basically happens is we are actually doing visualization. So what we normally do is we look at data, we look at words, and then we cross this very thin line, and then we have a visual image that we are going to draw. So the first part of look is to be able to look at information and draw it visually that everyone can understand. The problem is a lot of us, we try to draw the most sophisticated pictures. I don't know, maybe to tell everybody, wow, our ideas are great. But actually, the whole idea is to learn how to draw simple pictures. Now, to see is a little bit different, huh? Because to see, you see many moving parts. So now you cannot see all at one go. You need another set of tools, which is actually your 6x6, which is actually the 6 blades. So everybody draw 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blades. Now, the 6 blades I mentioned to you earlier, we call it the 6x6. What it means is 6 ways we see, 6 pictures we draw. This is fundamentally the science of vision. Understanding how our eyes see in sequence will help us now draft our ideas, present our ideas, look at our situation, and then come up with solutions and present it. So this is basically all the W's here. Now, the first W is who and what. So every time when you start with something, you must first look at the who and what of the situation we are in. And then we quantify our issue or problem. And when I say quantify, it will be how much. The third one is we want to know where our problem sits or where our challenge sits. And the fourth one is the when. When did it happen? So now I have the first 4 W, which will help me drill down the details of the facts of the information that I need to gather for the first 4 W. Then I will try and solve the problem by actually looking at the how and then the why. Okay, so 6 ways we see, 6 pictures we draw. Now, to imagine and to show, we need another tool. So everybody now know that the concept of the Swiss Army knife, there's always a corkscrew, right? So everybody draw 5 bubbles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So to imagine, it means this. One idea, many possibilities of expressing that one idea you have. So we have a mnemonic name called SQUID, S-Q-V-I-D. So in other words, my one idea that I have to present, I now need to think about S means a simple picture versus an elaborate picture. Q means qualitative. Opposite of qualitative, we have quantitative. V is vision. Opposite of vision, we have execution. I is individual. Opposite of individual is comparison. And the last one, D, is always about change, delta, right? But we put here difference. As compared with as is original state. Now, so in other words, I have one idea, I draw it in 10 pictures. Why? Because all of us have different aptitude to pictures, right? To visuals. So what we need to do is the reason why I draw it, and in my presentation, I always, when I do a pitch, I always put everything in my pocket, all the 10 pictures I have. And then in order for me to show, what I need to do is, number 2, is I'm going to use what I draw as an equalizer. Now, what is equalizer? It's like your hi-fi system, right? So if some people like treble, so I'm going to shift it up to treble. Some people prefer bass, so I move it down to bass. So in other words, how I show the pictures will depend on who I'm speaking to. Now, if I do a presentation now, and I'm doing to your operations people, I will probably use an execution picture to tell you what you need to do. Then my CEO walks into the room and my CEO asks me, so Ayat, what are you doing? I'm going to share with him a vision picture. Then my finance department comes to me and asks me, what are you presenting? I will then show a quantitative picture. So in other words, in presentation, one idea, many possibilities. Which picture to show will depend on the audience appetite for the pictures. Okay, now, so if I take a look at this now, let me just share this with you very quickly. If I look at eyes is look, which is data visualization. C is I use the 6x6. For my hand, my mind's eyes is basically to imagine. To imagine, I use the squid. And the last part here, which is my hands and eyes, I will show because I'm going to draw it. And I'm also going to use squid. Now, what does that tell you? The most important thing is actually this. If I train my eyes to see sharper, imagine further, and then draw visuals to express my complex ideas to the audience, I will become a powerful problem solver, powerful communicator, powerful presenter. And this is what you need to do. And this is so important. And I always think about why this is easy to do. It's because this is what we have. This is our innate ability. This is what we have. So very important, huh? So I don't understand these young people nowadays. When I teach a part at the university, and during my break, sometimes when I walk to the cafeteria, my students will walk past me without saying hello or say good morning, because half the time they're on this device. And I always tell my undergraduate students, the size of the world is your size of the phone. If you don't open your eyes to turn and see around you, how can you spot opportunities? So now we really need to train our eyes to turn and see what's around us. And if you see the same problem happening all the time, that is your opportunity. So this is very important. So train to see. Now, the most difficult part is actually the mind's eyes. It's the imagination. Because imagination is a sum of many things. It's a sum of your knowledge, a sum of having the tools to be able to generate those ideas, and the love and passion that you have on the subject matter. And this is so, so important, right? So this is very, very critical. So the focus, again, I repeat, is actually this. Okay, now, if you want, I will just put this on full screen now and just take a snapshot, please, everybody. Screenshot. Are we good so far? Okay, great. So let me now move on now. So while it is important and we keep talking about visuals, in other words, we need to draw. So some people come and tell me, I can't draw. So let's take a look at visuals. And that, like I said, in this group, I don't think it's a real problem. So the space that we come from when we talk about visuals, we actually have what we call visual alphabet. So you're going to learn, like you learn A, B, C, D. Now we're going to do some visual alphabets. Okay, now, before I do that, I'm going to now say this very important thing. Actually, drawing is not an artistic process. I'm not saying, please go to art school and learn how to draw. This is not what it is. It is the only time you draw is when you think clearer. You have an idea of your solution or a discussion point you want to share. And once you have that in your brain clearly, you will then be able to say, I am going to draw a picture to express my ideas to you. So remember, drawing only comes the last until you finish the beginning, which is thinking through, scanning the patterns and thinking through your solutions. Okay, now, so let's draw. So everybody just indulge the drawing exercise for a while. So take a piece of paper again, and then now everybody draw a dot. Okay, now I'm going to draw another dot here. So when you see two dots, what would you do? What would you do?
Draw a line.
Yes, draw a line. You will connect together, right? So what we have now is a dot. Now we have a line. I put another two dots here. I will have an arrow. Okay? Now, let's move on. So we have done a dot. Connect the dots, two lines. So we have two dots, we have a line, and then we draw another two dots, we have an arrow. Okay, now I want to draw four dots now. So everybody indulge me, okay? Draw four dots. So if I draw four dots, I have a square. If I draw another four dots this way, I will have a rectangle. I can also draw this way too. So from a vertical to a horizontal rectangle. You know, we teach kids doing visual thinking. Kids draw relatively comfortably, but they don't have a tool. So we teach them how to problem solve using this, right? And then when we say, okay, everybody please draw a square, and everybody draw a rectangle, you know what the kids tell us? Ma'am, I say, yeah. Or teacher, I say, yeah. A rectangle is a square. A square is not a rectangle. Oh my God. This 10-year-old kid come and tell me, I said, oh my goodness, this is really very fascinating. But this is what kids learn in school. Amazing, right? Now, so just for fun, we are going to draw the city skyline. I only want you to draw using straight line. So we're going to do a fun activity now. So everybody follow me and draw the city skyline. Only straight lines, everybody, please. Only straight lines, okay? There's some people tell me, oh, yeah, this looks a bit boring, okay? So, okay, fine. Let's do a little 3D. And then you put the building behind some more here. So you have the city skyline, right? And then you look at the building. Oh, the windows look like this. Hang on. Oh, it looks like this. So now when you travel, you can always take a notepad and start drawing the buildings around you, right? Just for fun, huh? So now we have the city skyline. Architects in this room, I forgot. This looks like Mickey Mouse to you, I'm sure. But anyway, this is something that we typically will look at visuals, right? Now, so this is what when we say we draw with straight lines. But in business, we draw icons. So what we have in organizations will be visual icons. And so you'll probably do this and then actually look at this is business organization. So it depends on how you look at it now, right? So we are not going to draw this. we're only going to draw this as an icon. So sometimes clients come to us to look at very complex topics like this, say derivatives. It's very hard to explain derivative to laymen, or your technical terminology. So you could come up with a visual glossary that the whole organization, when they discuss, it is always drawn in the same way. Okay, now, so for business, if I were to look at visuals, I can draw 2 lines. Okay, and I can say that this is what I want to do, strategic. Or am I actually looking at tactical in my career, the kind of work I want to do? You can then also say that I am a wordsmith. But to some people, they say, I believe visuals are important. So if you look at yourself, and if you are in this space that has always been doing technical stuff, but all in picture, in words, why not consider thinking about drawing a process map? And then people understand how that works, right? Now, or you do strategic related work, and a lot of people write a lot of white papers, right? In fact, I was quite fascinated. I mean, sometimes I take a strategy, buy a book on strategy, and I turn the whole from 1 page to probably 500 pages later, I don't even see a single picture. Strategy means from point A to point B. How do I get there, right? So it's about looking at where I want to be. So I want to know how to get there. Okay, so in a way, visuals will help you. And so the question is, once I decide I am in this space, I think I would like part of my work to be also visual. So I move from the left quadrant to the right quadrant. Or I may say that I want to do this and I want to be more visual in my strategic planning, or I can choose to be here. You decide where your career is going to be. Okay, so that becomes, so this becomes 2x2 framework will help you now look at where you want in terms of positioning. Okay, so we have a fun picture. We have also a business picture. I'm going to elaborate that a little bit more later on. Now let's take a look at 3 dots. So everybody now draw 3 dots with me. I can draw 3 dots this way. I can also draw 3 dots this way. I can draw 3 dots this way. So I can draw a triangle, right angle, equal, we'll call that top down, bottom up triangle is fine. Okay, now, but triangles are very, very interesting. So I will talk about it just to do the fun one first, and then we will do the business picture. So for fun, let's draw a castle just using triangles. Okay, everybody now follow me. Castle, okay? We have the side of the castle, a triangle. We have the top of the castle in triangle. We have the windows, triangle. We have the door, triangle. And all of us know every, in terms of the castle, generally you have flags, and then you have designs. Amazing, isn't it? Only using triangles, I can draw a castle, right? So this is something very, just for fun. Have fun with your kids with it, okay? Now, when we take a look at business pictures, we could look at Maslow hierarchy of needs. Now, of course, from 4, they have gone to 7, but let's keep it very simple. And so we think about the basic needs in terms of the hierarchy. And then we go to security needs, and it goes all the way up, right? Up to self-actualization. And I think before COVID, all of us strive to move to the top of the pedestal. But I think COVID has actually brought us back. And all of us are focusing on our basic needs here. And I don't know why the whole world goes to the supermarket and the first thing they want to buy is toilet paper. Right? So we go back to our very, very basic needs. So I would be thinking food, water, but I don't know why my nephew called me up and asked me, Auntie, do you want me to buy toilet paper? I'm thinking, that's the last thing on earth I'm thinking about, you know. So, and then of course, we want to protect our family. We want to protect what we have. Okay, so most of us actually went down to the bottom. Now, in the nature of work that I do, one of the things that I like to do is to empower the young people. When they look at the career, how do they get from point A to point B? My background is in banking, and I was an analyst for the most part of my career. And many of my students will come up to me and says, you know, I would like to become an analyst. And sometimes they tell me, I want to join JP Morgan. I don't know whether they know what they're talking about. And then I'm thinking, do you know what it takes for you to go to JP Morgan? So in the context of it, I always think that they have to have the right internship. But because they cannot get the right internship, I actually run a simulated internship program for students who are interested to become analysts. So what we do is we either do a top-down analysis or a bottom-up analysis, and this is what we do. You will notice I teach the same thing. So the first thing is country risk. We look at the environmental risk. In engineering, you have also your own model. We have industry risk. And then we have company risk. Now, what's the purpose of the triangle then? The triangle tells you the amount of concentration depending on the nature of your job. For people who are macro, from the top down, economic students will generally cover this part here. Accounting and business students will cover this part here, which is actually looking at companies. So you will do this, and then you analyze the industry, then you analyze the environment, then you look at the country. Typically, as an accounting student, we don't do country risk rating. We don't. We just buy the rating to add weightage to it. Okay, so visuals like that be very important. I could draw this to represent revenue size. And then I could also put the lines here to actually state which of it forms the most revenue. I could do that. Comparing similar organizations, okay? So now you will see we have a fun picture and we have a business picture. Now, one dot. One dot is basically, everybody put a dot first. And then we draw a circle. So one dot means draw circles. So let's draw a couple of circles, okay? I get better as I draw more, okay? And just for fun, when we look at circles, of course, a lot of people think about emoticons. So quite interestingly, the emoticons or facial expression has got a few things. The eyebrow is important, the eyes is important, the mouth is important, okay? And then where you face is important. So I could draw something like this. Or I could do something like this. Or I could do something like this. So it changes the way you look at things, right? But typically, of course, many of us actually draw smiley face, right? Now, in drawing visuals, very important when we look at challenges or when you look at your career, you must first identify the who. I'm going to show it later on to you. And when you draw who, you have to draw features of the person, okay? So we can draw something like that. And then we can draw ponytail. We can draw curly hair. you can do this. And then you can do a little crew cut here or something like that. Okay, so you can do that. And of course, some people even do it a little bit more. They actually draw the profession of the person. Okay, so they could say this person is actually an engineer. You could put a spanner or something like that. This fellow is an accountant. This person is actually an idea generator. Okay, but he looks very frustrated now because doesn't seem to get his idea through. So he has a challenge, right? Then you have people who actually do things like someone who sets the vision of the organization, right? And then you have people who could also look at operational or even customer service, and then you draw someone with a heart. Okay, so you have different. And I had a participant. I tell you, this was, to me, the most amazing thing. He drew this. And I said, what's that? It's the employee I've always wanted but never came. Gosh, this is the missing link. Right? Yeah, so everybody draws it differently. Huh? So just now we talked about bicycle and you said 2 wheels. So very interesting. We had 2 wheels. We already learned to draw the triangle. I do 2 straight lines. I draw a small circle. I draw 2 lines and I draw oval. I get a bicycle. So it is amazing if we take a look at that. Okay, now, so as we look at it, visuals become very much easier. But for business, one of the most powerful thing about circles are actually Venn diagrams. And I actually love this article. If you have time to read it, it's actually from Harvard Business Review, HBR. Is reinvent your business model. Just Google it and download it to read it. Huh? Reinvent your business model. Okay, now, so there were a lot of things that they wrote that I actually draw visuals. Huh? So of course, they talk about Apple. And Apple, if you look at it, they actually have what we call the hardware. When they first came up with the iPod, they had the software. And what Apple did, which everyone didn't do, was they provided a service. And that service is the iTunes. And it killed everybody else. Right at the sweet spot here, a lot of people say that is the iPod. Nope. Right at the center here is Apple's new business model. That's the key. So I always ask all of us, if I were to draw 2 circles, if you draw 2 circles about yourself, tell me what you're good at. And then you write it down. And then you look around your office. Huh? As much as you have written these 2, everyone in your office has the same. So you got to ask yourself this question. What is it that now I have to add? What is this special thing that made me unique in the organization? If you are running a business, like in all of us, when we do training, okay? And when we think about training, it is really interesting. I offer this, I offer this. But what makes me unique? I have to find out. That it's very rare that people will say, this is what I want. That will become your value proposition. And until you can draw this picture visually for yourself, then you have a direction of where you want to be. Are we good so far? Okay, great. Now, the last one is no dot. Huh? Now, of course, no dot would be if I were to draw clouds, that's fluid. No dot is actually, we call it blob. Blob means any shape, right? And I could draw basically river flowing into the ocean, and then we can have this, right? And of course, in a lot of all these things, people begin to draw milestones, right? And this is what I need. Then it's like a timeline. Then you say 1, I do this, 2, I do this, 3, I do this. You can draw visuals to actually represent what you want to do. Okay, now I don't spend too much time on this, but at least now you know that as long as you have these alphabets, a dot, a line, an arrow, a square, a triangle, a circle, and a block, you can draw anything you like, anything to express your ideas. Okay, so this is where we do this now. Now, I'm now going to take you to the vision part. Okay, now. So let's take a look at how our eye sees. Understanding how our eye sees and the patterns of the way our eye sees, we begin to actually look at why we work on this sequence. Okay, now, so let's take a look at this now. I'm going to show you 4 pictures, so everybody pay attention and then please shout out. Okay, picture A, picture B, picture C, picture D. I'm going to do it again. Picture A, picture B, picture C, picture D. Tell me what's the difference between picture A and picture B. What's the difference? What's the difference? Just shut up.
There are no birds flying from
Okay,
A.
so the birds landed on the ground, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what else?
The clothes are moving.
What is moving? Clouds
Clouds.
are moving, yes. Clouds are moving. What else?
Plane also moving.
Moving from the left to the right. Very good. Now tell me what has passed from A to B. What has passed? Tell me what has passed.
The plane.
Yeah.
Bird.
Time.
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 Very good. Picture A to picture B. Time has passed. Now tell me how much time has passed from picture A to picture B. How much time? How much time has passed?
Maybe a minute or two.
Yeah, probably a minute, probably seconds or a minute, right? So very fast, because in picture A, when you see, and picture B as you move, probably a few minutes pass, a few seconds pass. Okay, now picture A and picture B. Now picture C shows you picture C shows you a commotion, right? And when you take a look at this commotion, the dog rushed out, the birds flew away, parents panic, pull the baby pram, people are shouting. The whole scene is chaotic. It's picture C. Picture D, what happened?
Everyone's gone.
Night.
Yeah, it's night. So how much time has passed now? How much time?
Hours.
Hours have passed. Great. So now let's take a look at this now. Picture A and picture B, seconds have passed. Picture C and picture D, hours have passed. You know what's interesting about the picture? They're all black and white. There's no sound. There's no clock. But you have just exercised the entire cognitive ability of your brain. In the picture, you see the who and the what in the picture. You can count. You can see where everybody is. But the moment I shift to picture B, you can tell when things happen. Our eyes see patterns, and when things move, time changes. The only time you can't tell time change is when you have your eyes closed. And typically it's on a Sunday afternoon. I'm sitting there watching television. I fall asleep. I wake up. I'm not sure whether it's seconds have passed or hours have passed. When my eyes is closed, I can't tell time. Then we see how what happens, right? And then at the end, we are going to look at the logic of how things happen now. So this is the way we see. This is very important now. Our brain is really fascinating. What we have is we see millions and millions of photons of images hits our eyes, reach our retina, and sends multiple messages to our brain. Now, when you enter a room or when you see something, you only see the first 3 things, the who and the what, the how much and the where. So if I were to walk into the room now, I open the door, I will look. The first thing I gauge, my eyes will tell me who is in the room. Am I in the right room? And I'm going to see what is in the room. People are having a meeting. There is a projector. So I gauge what it is. Then the moment I look at it, wow, then I'm going to see how many my brain counts. I'm very comfortable to count 5. I can't stand there and say, oh, there are 200 people. That's not possible. We are going to look at cluster. Oh, yeah, it looks like there are clusters. Okay, there are 20 of 5 is equal to 100. There looks like 20 of 5 clusters. Immediately I gauge, it's around 100 people. Then I see Elching, and I said, oh, she's standing at the corner. Then I tell myself, I want to walk from where I am to where she is. So I look at the position where she is. The first 3 things, this is what we see. Now, then I determine the when. The reason why I was late when everybody's already there is because my driver, the taxi whom I called, actually wait for me at a different location. So I about 5 minutes late, and therefore I could not meet Elkin at the door and Elchin at the door, and she was already inside. So I was looking for her, right? So first thing is I see this, then I see the when. I can then look at my solution, which is the how things happen or the how I want to solve my challenge, and then the why. Okay. Now in our 4 black and white pictures, we saw birds, dog, people, plane, clouds, boat. We count bunch of birds, 4 in a picnic, 1 dog, 2 adults with a baby, then 1 lady with a dog, right? We actually can count everything there. And then when we look at it, we look at the position, the birds was in the air, the birds landed, and then we from picture A to picture B, we actually see where everything is. Then we can see the timeline, seconds have passed, hours have passed. Now, how did it all happen? The commotion was because dog rushed out, birds panicked, birds flew off, parents panicked, the parents. The how it all happened. So the why, we have to think about the rationale. So maybe the story will go like this. Dogs plus birds equal chaos. That's the rationale, right? Or dog love birds, but birds don't love dogs. That's why we have the chaos. So we begin to do the rationale. Okay, now understanding this now means our brain, the way our eye sees, has a pattern and it is predictable. Okay, now with that, take a piece of paper and we draw now. So everybody draw a bubble now. Draw a straight line down. I want you to draw 2 diagonal lines across. It's like your pizza, okay? Draw it like you're drawing a pizza. Okay, now, so what I want you to do now is, I want you to put all the W's inside. So we have what we call the who and the what. Now, so what do we draw when we say who and what? We draw portrait and we draw object or concepts. So portrait means I draw the people involved in the challenge, and I draw the object, which is what we discussing about. How much? What do we draw? We draw charts. Where? We draw maps. So if this is my house, and this is where I want to go, I have a map to show me where I want to go. Now, where is the very powerful? Where is about your position, okay? So I remember I did this. I could do a 2x2. Or I could draw a Venn diagram of where I want to be. This is my sweet spot. Or, which I'm going to show you shortly, which is my favorite, is I actually draw the radar map. So this is the Venn, and this is my radar map. This point here is my ideal state. But actually, I am only at this position. I am not anywhere near my maximum capability. Okay, now, so we will draw that. Then when we look at the when, we actually do what we call the timeline. Sequence of events that led to this. We draw the how, which is actually the flow chart. I do this, and therefore I do this. Takes me through, okay? And the last one is the why. I will draw a visual equation. And typically, is this plus change, I get something new. Often when we draw innovation, it is always about that. The bigger the triangle, the bigger the change, the bigger the innovation. The smaller is incremental innovation, okay? Now, so we have this picture, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you a couple of stories. Can you spare me another 10 minutes? Okay. Now, so give you an example. Now, let me tell you a story about Nestle. I grew up with my favorite drink, Milo. I'm not sure whether you have it there, dear Milo,
No.
which is like a chocolate drink. It's like a chocolate drink, yeah? And in where we come from, my mother is highly influenced by Nestle brand from the advertisement she saw. And you will see this athlete running and then, boom, he's very like a Superman, you know? And then everyone drinks like a chocolate drink, okay? So my mother makes sure that I become the superwoman. So she always have me drink a pack of Milo. Now, the parents today are not like my mother. They will never give their children this chocolate drink. And the reason why they don't give their kids this chocolate drink is because it is full of sugar. So now parents are very health conscious. So this profile of this person now has changed. And so if Nestle continue to do this sugary chocolate drink, they will not meet the changing needs of the customer. So therefore, Nestle decided they're going to recruit a whole nutrition team, nutritionists to join their team to actually look at all the labels and then reduce the sugar level. So when the who is changing, which is your customer, you have to change what you offer. This is so important, huh? You cannot do the things the same way anymore. If you do that, finish. Now, but they also don't want to forget me, my generation. They don't want to forget my mother's generation, who actually grew up with this brand that they like. So most of us, as we get older, children will leave the home. So my mother is what we call empty nester, okay? So she needs companion. She's not going to have another kid. So she decided that she's going to have a dog. So now she has this dog. Nestle is thinking, wow, there's this huge market. So one of the biggest growth in Nestle's business is pet food. you understand where I'm coming from now? Huh? So in your business, in your career, you think about it. If your customer is changing, if your boss is changing, and your boss now wants something different from you, you better change the way you do your work. Okay. How much? How much is always talking about your financial performance. And I'm thinking of people like Adobe, the people like the Microsoft. They will never let go Aya. The reason why they don't like me is because I never upgrade my software. I buy my software and I use it, and I don't know, there's so many things in Microsoft, there's so many things in Excel, I hardly use them. When I was in the bank, I used a lot of features in Excel. I'm not in banking, I hardly use Excel anymore. Very simple kind of work I do with Excel. I use more PowerPoint. In fact, I don't like to use PowerPoint. I prefer to draw. No more bullet points, you know, and I don't like that anymore, right? So I really don't need it. But Microsoft says, Ayat is actually a Microsoft user. She only pay me a one-time fee for the license. So now they change their revenue model to ask me now to pay on a monthly basis on a subscription model. So if your business now looks at it, and if I can't change the way I'm going to generate revenue, I could think of a shift in my business model to look at revenue generation. Other than, of course, innovation, other than, of course, looking at upgrading more softwares, right? Okay, so a very good example of that, okay? Now, where? Where is very interesting, huh? I don't know whether you remember the company called Xerox. When I grew up, don't dream of having a printer at home. Don't dream. It's like a value of a car. We will never have. So all when I remember when I was studying, if we want anything, we just go to the shop, we just photocopy and pay 2-3 cents for it, you know. We don't own a printer. Okay. So Xerox model is very interesting. So what they did was they are high value, mass market, niche market. So they were very uniquely here because printers were where they started. And when the Japanese came in to make printers so cheap, they were forced to shift themselves in this marketplace, which they did not want to exist for it. So what they did was they decided to go back to high value niche. So now they are in the BPO business. So you shift your positioning because the market is changing, because competitors are now eating your pie. Your revenue is dropping, no? So you shift your positioning. Okay, now the when has got to do with fault lines. You know that I've been writing an article on LinkedIn, and I started with, I find it hard for why people don't do things. So I'm saying, so I started with, I don't understand. What I don't understand is, if I'm standing here, there's a crack in the wall, and the crack seems to get bigger every day, but I do nothing about it until the building collapses on me. I look at my job, and then I see that technology is going to take over a lot of the parts of the work that I'm doing. I see it with my eyes, but I don't take action. So when a fault line appears, you need to pivot. And pivot, unfortunately, means you have to invest in building capabilities. And are these capabilities obvious? The answer is yes. Question is, what resources do you need to build this capability there? Okay, now this is important. Huh? Now, flow chart. How? If I am here and I want to now change, which I tell you to pivot, right? I want to be here. The biggest thing is how do I manage change? And often in our space, change is often our ability. New knowledge, new skills. This is what it is about. And in some context, I want to be able to measure my performance. And how do I measure that? So we can take a look at what that will be. But often it starts with this. How can I be here to reach here? A very good example will actually be Netflix. They were in a space where everybody was actually selling, they were renting videos. And then they decided they were going streaming and totally changed their business model. How did they do that? They need technological capabilities. Otherwise, they cannot make the shift, strategic shift. Now, the why, I don't think I need to explain to you, but the reason very simple. From the space that I come from, politically, economic, social, technological changes is happening all the time. And the biggest change that we are all going to see, obviously, is actually technological changes. The other biggest change is demographic changes. In Singapore, we are going to be super age. And a lot of European countries are super age. Architects have to think about the kind of buildings you need to build to cater for the aging population. And it's something that I find it very frustrating. And maybe in the technological space, and some of you may be interested, I could actually come back and think about some projects you all can do together. And I'm thinking, I'm 67 years old. And I'm thinking I'm educated. I'm thinking I'm financially better off than my parents. So I'm thinking I have a good appreciation of aging gracefully. But nothing in my system helps me to age gracefully at all. Even the wheelchair sucks. Today, my friend was telling me, let's go and buy a wheelchair for my mother. The lightweight one. I said she's going to fall over. Why do we spend so much money making prams, baby prams, the Mercedes of baby prams, you know? Why can't I get a Mercedes wheelchair? I think I deserve it, you know? I deserve for working so hard and gracefully aging, right? To be independent. Why don't they make, of course, there are many things could power my legs to be strong. If I can't walk, I don't know. There are so many things out there. But many people take it very lightly. So maybe that's what it is all about. Because today we live in a VUCA world. A VUCA world is very volatile, highly uncertain, highly complex, highly busy. I don't have time, but I actually have a solution for this picture. Okay, but I don't have the time to share with you. Okay, but basically, this is what it is all about. Okay, now, so I want you to do this application now. And in this application, what I want you to do is, I will end up with a story about my story, my future. I'm going to draw about me. I want you to draw you. So I'm going to do a sample to show it to you so that you will go back and apply it. Okay, now. So I'm going to draw 2 circles here. I'm going to tell you what has changed in my life, okay? Okay, first thing first, the who am I? Before COVID, this was my life, my life, okay? Because COVID, this is what it looked like. I have a 1,500 square foot, 2,000 square foot room, and I walked the entire room to teach my class. I could breathe, I could touch people, and this is what my life was before COVID, right? After COVID, or during COVID. In fact, it took a long time before we actually reached there. My life now becomes 5 feet by 2.5 feet. I have what we call a box light in front of me. I have a camera. I have my computer. I have my iPad. I have a microphone, as you can see here. I practically, my space has become almost, probably here 2.5 feet, give me another 2. I'm now 25 square feet space. My life was, this is big. This has become small. I have to talk and I have to learn how, I cannot go like that, you know. I have to make sure I am within the frame. I must know how to use my hands so that people can see and so that I can continue to be animated in my classroom. Okay. The how much? A lot of online, zero, in fact, zero face-to-face. I had to get used to talking to people who don't switch on their cameras. I teach an academic at the university, my public training or corporation training, they have no choice, they switch on the camera. But in my undergraduate class, I teach 90 students. I have not seen their face in the 4 semesters that are during COVID. Never. I said, excuse me, can you switch on your camera? Ma'am, the camera is not working. Oh, 90 students, oh, camera not working. Okay, fine. Can you turn on your audio? I would like to hear your voice. Ma'am, audio not working. I spent 2 years trying to understand how to talk to no human beings. So I had to turn on my phone camera and then I talked to myself. Otherwise, I think it was really hard to navigate, you know. And then the cheek of my students at the end of the entire semester, and then they will write me a message. Dear ma'am, I'm applying to do my master's. You don't know who I am, but I need a referral from you. Sorry. My reply, I'm so sorry, I don't know who you are. I have not even seen your face. I haven't heard your voice. I'm sorry, I can't get you a referral letter. Young people don't appreciate this. And the only ones who turn on are the ones I have to communicate with, right? So I tell them, if you don't switch on your camera, I'm not going to write your referral letter. What? Then all the camera pops up. I don't know why suddenly it worked, you know. Navigating, very difficult now. The where. So this is the best picture I want to show you, huh? And I want you to appreciate this, okay? Before COVID, my customer pays me because I am extremely energetic in class. I'm like a live wire, okay? I use visuals. I think what is also interesting is I offer what we call experiential learning. And on top of that, my interaction is very high. And there, of course, I love to draw models. My clients like me because I have all these things. During COVID, this is irrelevant. Totally irrelevant. You know what they asked me? Ayat, are you technologically savvy, huh? Not content anymore, huh? Oh my God, technologically savvy. Are you familiar with technology? Oh, okay. I have to think about it, huh? They asked me, you know, Ayat, a lot of people, your peers at your age, 60 over years old, are retiring because they don't want to do Zoom class. They don't like this interaction. So they asked me, am I resilient? Never in my entire life, anybody asked me or paid me for my resilience. Never. Then they said, okay, the other thing is, can you still provide the provision of learning materials? And I will tell you, the books that I had to publish or books that I have to actually put share in the class and all that, inventory was so low. I practically could not get it. Zero. In fact, supply chain was really sucks. Today still sucks, huh? Okay, so my learning materials was very poor. Then I said, oh, you need contactless operation. For the love of my life, I don't know what that means. Huh? Really no cue. Huh? Contactless operation. Okay, I got to think about that one. And because I'm always online, I mean, having to do this in an online platform, they say, oh, Ayat, you need to ramp up your social media. My gosh, this is what my customer wants. And I will tell you, I am nothing near it. Huh? Technology, not sure. Resilience, sometimes I don't know, in the alone at home. One day my friend called me up and Ayat, can you switch on your camera, switch on your phone and then see how many steps you walk? I walked 68 steps. That means from my room to the toilet, to the room, to the kitchen. So some days are bad days, some days are good days. So I don't give my resilience very high. So I'm probably here. Provision of learning material, oh my God, zero. Sucks because I couldn't go to the shop. The shop didn't carry any more inventory. Contactless operation, thank God. Oops, sorry. This is really, really good, huh? Contactless operation. Because I had a bank who had online banking. I don't have to do anything, send invoice. Oh, this is contactless. Good, thank God I have that. Social media, I try, but I really don't like it. But I do, so I'm somewhere here. So this was where I am. This was where I was. This is where I am. Half the time, I have to decide which gap I need to close so that I can continue to be relevant. So the first thing I did was, this was the most important. Thank God I got two brothers who are in the IT business, okay? Hello, come. Wow, this big sister come means you have to come. Wow, so can you imagine, huh? I show you. My brother set up this for me. Oh my God, I got a state-of-art office in the... Can you imagine? I got box rice, I got everything you need to start. So I decided that I focus on narrowing this gap first. And if I do this well, I will be more positive, right? I can't control this. I have to think of alternative. I don't like this, but I slowly have to inch my way up. So I did that, okay? Now, what's happening now is you need to draw this picture for yourself. The world is changing. You need to know what is needed in the market, and you need to find out what are the gaps. And you have to do it constantly, okay? Sorry. This gap, sorry. You have to do this. Otherwise, you will not be relevant anymore. Now, the when. So when during COVID, I was still doing relatively well. It was 2020. Immediately in April, because we had a total shutdown in Singapore, I had zero income. I was not I ran my own business. Zero income in May, zero income in June, July. I tell you, it was something really shot through the system. Huh? I could decide two options. I either do something about it or I retire. I could have easily given up. But I thought, I'm not bad, right? I think I got content, right? I think I've got years of stories to tell. Why do I want to give up? So I decided to pivot and decided to do something about it. And this entire time, the few months, I decided to run webinars online and then made a lot of mistakes. Then people, hey, yeah, no, not like that. You know, no, you should do this. The Zoom should be like this. And I was like chaotic, you know. And then I said, everybody, please shut up. It's free webinar. I'm learning, you are learning. No, of course I didn't do that. But to me, It was just for learning purpose. So I probably did so many webinars, and I didn't realize by doing that, I started doing workshops for India, doing workshops for clients all over the world, and my world has changed. So for you now, think about the crisis, right? Actually, now the crisis is going to happen again and again. So you now need to think about what you need to acquire new skill sets to pivot. You need to decide that, okay? Now, the how, oh my gosh, during COVID, very interesting. Everybody tells you, this is going to be the norm. Reimagine the new you. Now, when they tell me, I feel like smacking their faces now. Because everybody tells you, but nobody tells you how. I am very determined in the work that I do. I better tell you how. And for me, how was to go. The how was to actually look at the new requirement. The why, very simple. The why here. We got a very angry COVID year. But the why here is you and I now must understand we don't live in the same world anymore. I'm so sorry. It looks like everybody is so frightened. I hope I didn't frighten all of you, okay? But what I want you to understand is if you have to constantly draw this picture until you find your own space. And if you do that, all you need to do is to be a little different from other people and narrow that gap. So I want you to draw your own picture. So I'm going to put this on full screen now, and please take a picture of this. Of course, in business, there are many strategies you can look at, but today I focus on you. Okay? Also, with that, I'm going to end the session. And remember, before I come back to this, sorry. Current. I am going to go back to the test. I showed you 29 pictures just now. And I asked you how many pictures you remember. You said 10, 5. Okay, now let's see how many pictures you really remember. So everybody now pay attention to the pictures I show you. All I want you to do is to shout. Okay, just everybody on your audio, just shout. I show you 2 pictures. And you tell me, you saw the picture, was it on the left or on the right? Are my instructions clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So everybody now, just shout out, okay?
Left.
Very good.
Right.
Very good.
Left.
Left.
Very good.
Right.
Right.
Very good.
Left.
Left.
Left. Very good.
Right.
Very good.
Left.
Left.
Left. Very good.
Right.
Right.
Very good.
Left.
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 Right.
Right.
Left. Left.
Left.
Left.
Left.
Left.
Right.
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 Left.
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 Right.
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 Left.
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 Right.
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 Left.
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 Right.
Left. Right.
Right.
Left.
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 Right.
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 Left.
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 left,
Left.
Left.
This one. So that's what it is all about, okay? Now, so before we actually end the session, I just want some feedback. What were your takeaways with regard to the session we had? And then I open up to Q&A.
Okay.
Anybody has anything to say?
Everyone can open their microphones.
It's been an amazing journey altogether, and I was trying to wrap up. How would we be wrapping up? And what came to my heart was how would we visualize, or how would we show our own story? And you just pinpointed it all together, and it was quite inclusive. Thank you so much. And I mean, my takeaway is everything is possible if you're willing to be out of your comfort zone to make it happen. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Thank you so much. Anybody else?
It was gorgeous, and you gave us a new way of looking to our lives. And thank you very much.
Yeah, welcome, welcome. Raj, how do you find it?
Hey, thanks, Sayat. It's great. It simplified our thinking and the new tools to use to improve our thinking. And
Very good.
I see a lot of focus coming in when you're drawing or, as compared to the text-based, PowerPoint killer points. So this is
Yeah, thank
something very
you.
engaging, very engaging.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
Anybody
thanks.
else? Maybe one more?
Presentation was so impressive and the subject was highly interesting. I believe all the participants will benefit and this presentation will contribute to our self-development. We
Okay,
kept
thank
you
so
away
much.
from your sleeping time due to difference in time zones, but highly appreciate your being
Thank you.
awake for us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss I. Thank you, Elçin Hanım.
Yeah, thank you
Good
so
evening.
much. Good evening, yeah. Okay, great. Okay, thank you so much, Benjamin. Yeah. Okay, so this is my contact. This is our new book, which we are now going to look for publishers. And the way we have done is I give you a glimpse, but this is a little bit more in-depth when you look at your problem solving. So just let me, just stay in touch. And see whether, anything we can do together. Yeah?
I will
Okay,
share
any
your,
more questions? Yeah.
I will share your LinkedIn page to our all members, so they can also connect and ask anytime. And
Yes,
also,
please.
if you need anything from us, we would like to help you with that also. So thank you
Okay,
so much.
sure. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, and no questions?
May I ask a question, if possible?
Of course, of course.
Overall, with my students, I've used mind maps, and I think these visual tools and techniques are quite impressive in trying to overcome certain barriers like language, a certain level of knowledge that the student might not have but would want to enhance altogether. With regard to this technique and your own professional experience, how would we be enticing different type of learners? For example, there is the VARC technique where it is divided to visual, auditory, read, and
Yeah.
kinesthetic learners. Now, for visually inclined learners, this is quite much easier to grasp. And if the person is involved in the activity in itself, they can see that they can be improving their visual learning skills as well as other learning skills as well, as you have mentioned with regards to trying to demonstrate qualitative data in a quantitative manner, quantitative data in qualitative, something of the sort. How would we be enticing the students, or what advantages does this technique bring out? This is my first question. And my second question is, from your very diverse background, working with different cultures, how do you overcome cultural barriers in this regard? And I think culture is an important, let's say, barrier, and as well as an opportunity area, because some cultures are very more open to finding the new and discovering the new, whereas others are more, let's say, conservative in this manner. Thank you so much. I've benefited so much, and I hope to keep in touch. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, first thing first, huh? Remember when I did this drawing? In this framework, the where is your mind map. Because mind map is about concepts. Okay, now, where we come from, I am not what we call, many people who do what we call graphic recorder. I don't aspire to be an artist, but I aspire to think about, when I read something, to be able to draw it so that people can understand it. Okay, now, I give you an example. The one very interesting concept that a lot of people are talking about, which I always share with my undergraduate students, even with my clients. We understand that this, when we look at VOCA, I'm going to just share an example with you. So I was going to put the words here. And this is actually not my model. It is actually done by a Harvard professor. And he actually put two questions. I know and I can predict. Okay. And then he put a continent. So if we take a look at this, if I take a dictionary and I look at VOCA, and what's the meaning of volatile? The visual of volatile is this. If I draw a visual, my students will understand that this is called volatile. Then I'm going to ask a simple question. What do you want to take care of? I need to take care of this. When I'm doing well, I don't need to take care, right? I need to worry about the trough, right? Now, if I can predict this trough, which is what a lot of stock market people do, if I can predict this trough, I will be able to try and see whether I can push this up a little bit better. I probably cannot do it all like this level. It is impossible. Okay, now, so the only solution you can come up with is because in this quadrant, I know and I can predict. Because the definition in English, volatile means likely to happen. So if I know it's likely to happen, I know and I can predict. And if you do nothing about it, I'm going to scold you. Like I said, if I see a crack on the wall, if I do nothing, it's a problem. When my boss tells me there'll be a new software, artificial intelligence that will take over certain part of your job. And I remember when I was working in the bank, my first shock was when Bill Gates gave us the Excel spreadsheet. Half my job disappeared. That was the first rude awakening. And some smart person did what we call, even before this ChatGPT and all that, map the brain of the analyst and put it on the computer with all the algorithm, press a button, the computer writes down 8 pages of the clinical report. They really, I was thinking at that point of time, they really want to kill me. My job, I know and I can predict. So what do I have to rely on? I have to actually now look at the resources that I have to help me look at my future. And today, you and I and all the students that you have no more excuse. We have Coursera. You name it, we have, I don't know, everything that you want online. It is practically easy to access. We cannot say we don't know. And during COVID, I tell you, I'm fascinated with me. I'm fascinated with all my friends who don't know how to cook, have become great chefs. All because why we watch YouTube, right? So I rely on my resources to look at the change that I need to make of the new areas that I need to pivot. Okay, so the resources can be internal resources or the resources can be external. This is the easier to solve because we got two positive. Now, this is uncertainty. Yeah? Uncertainty is like this. I am here. I have option 1. I have option 2. I have option 3. Which option should I take? I don't know. But now I know my options, but I cannot predict which is the best option, right? And the only way I can do this is I have to rely on information. Today, we have to have good research skills. Information, not of the past, but information of the future. I give you an example. Huh? My favorite website, I give it to you now. You please give to all your students, okay? My favorite website, oh, Wonder, MAN, Thompson.com. The amazing thing about this is they show you the trends, future trends. So every year, you must do this for yourself. Download 2023 trends. Next year, 2024, download 2024 trends, okay? Now, so if the trend tells you, okay, like when people tell me, the trend now is spice. It's fascinating. I never knew the range of spices that are available, okay? My level of chili taste or spice level could be only this. But now, the most popular dish in Singapore is, they call it mala, okay? Which means level 1 chili, level 2 chili, level 3 chili, level 4 chili. You can have up to level 30 until you cannot, you eat until you cannot hear. I don't know why you torture yourself, but anyway, that's it. So I tell some of my undergraduate students who want to start their businesses, okay? So I said, why don't you think about spiciness and levels of spiciness? So, trends, okay? Now, so what I do is, I must make sure I have the same criteria that I have. And then what I look at is, yes, no, 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 yes, 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 yes. Isn't the obvious answer that option 3 is my best option? I cannot make a decision without knowing anymore, because this is very, very, the mistakes can be very, very serious. Okay. This one, complex. If I draw complex, the picture will look like this. How do I come out of here? I can predict it's very difficult, but I don't know how to do it. The best solution is to look for someone to help you. And that is the specialist. So in the space that you and I are in, the way we work today, we cannot do it alone by ourselves. We have to collaborate. And collaboration means I need this specialist to be part of my network. This is so, so important, right? Now, so in my space, remember I showed you the picture of what my specialist was my brothers, thank God for that. Okay, now the last one, this is the most difficult. I don't know and I cannot predict. This is ambiguous, right? And you know, this is the most important. The likes of Microsoft, the likes of all these top companies, the Amazons, the Googles of the world. Can you imagine? They always do this, huh? Try. They experiment all the time. We all need to experiment all the time. So maybe 20% of our time we experiment, 80% we focus on our core job. 20% we really need to try something different. For that light bulb, we never know, because I do it 10 times, I do it 20 times, I'm going to hit into something that is going to work in the future. Got it? So, one very interesting thing now, huh? VOCA. What is this? R-I-S-E. I can rise. So volatile, I make sure I look for resources. Uncertain, I look for information. Complexity, I look for specialists. Ambiguity, I just need to experiment. I don't know what's the answer. But now you tell me, if I draw a visual like that for my students, or you draw a visual when you're doing consulting, isn't this so powerful? You don't need to be, I can be a person who only likes to read text, but your picture has opened up my eyes. Versus me writing and telling you on a text to explain to you this. Isn't it powerful? Okay, that's number one. Huh? Now, so visuals is what we innately have. Everybody is visual. They don't draw. It's fine. I don't draw anything fancy. I just draw business pictures. But do I start drawing like that when I first started? Of course not. But then I make it so simple now and I understand it, right? Okay, number two, culture. I tell you, the biggest breakthrough in culture is visual. I go to a country that doesn't speak the same language. Trust me, I want to go from point A to point B. And then if the guy tells me turn left, turn right, I have no clue. What he will draw is, he draws a building. He tells me to turn left. He draws this visual for me to get there. So culturally, the nuances of culture is hard to navigate, but we come from a country, fortunately, that we are multiracial, more sensitive to different religions. We have Muslims, we have India, Hindus, we have, Buddhists, and then we have all the different, and then because Singapore is also very interesting, it's because we have so many foreigners. So in some ways, we are culturally sensitive, okay? Now, but I think if you are not, then I think the communication will be having to actually express those ideas and thinking in visuals. It will help tremendously. I speak to you all in a language, but I think the more powerful language that I have done is actually the visuals. If I were to do this just now, and I talk about it, you will not see it as clear as what I have done. And I'm sure all of us are in the same scenario here. I can spend hours doing this. I can work with a client hours on this. But what have you done is about the depth. The more insight I have for these three parts, it will help me solve my challenge. The more data you have, the better it is. I hope that helps.
Definitely. I'm speechless, and you have also spoken with your heart as well. Another very candid and sincere communication style as well. So I'm very grateful. I think one of our concerns is to be aware of our own potential. I think we're all afraid of our own potential, and I think these tools are very strong in bringing out these potential. Thank you so much again, Ayat. It has been a wonderful session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have taken a lot of your time.
Ooh,
Thank
3
you.
o'clock.
Thank you
Oh
very
my God.
much. I have
Thank
checked
you.
the emails, the questions, and for the ones who are requesting the video, I will send the emails, the link of our YouTube channel so they can watch in detail or one more time.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. And please feel free to contact us if you need anything from us as engineers and architects. We
Yes,
would
yes,
like
yes.
to help.
Thank you. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for this
Thank you.
hour, and would like to also thank every attendee for staying for so long.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And
Okay.
everybody take care and stay safe, okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So
Yeah.
Okay, Elchin, I will leave the chat. So leave the session. Okay, so take care of yourself, okay?
Yeah.
And stay in touch.
Thank you very much. See you
Okay.
later.
Okay,
Bye.
bye-bye. Bye-bye.